Now, if you clicked on this video seeing the title and thumbnail and going crazy, I don't blame you, because we potentially have some incredibly exciting information for Black Ops 4. But before we go any further, I must stress heavily to take everything you're about to hear with a huge grain of salt. This particular leak or rumour has been circulating in the zombies community for a few days now, and as with any leak, we don't have any genuine evidence to back this up. But what we do have is a 100% track record from this source who have leaked so much in the past that has been 100% correct. So obviously that weighs a lot into how believable this is. So with that in mind, just please take this with a little bit of skepticism, because even I at first struggled to believe this news, but in the sense of business logic, there is some great reasons why this could be plausible. So Zombies Chronicles 2, Season 2 of Zombies DLC, what is happening here? Well, I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that a Zombies Chronicles 2 would be hugely successful for Black Ops 4 DLC sales. The first Zombies Chronicles is the most sold DLC for a Call of Duty game ever. So if Activision and Treyarch want to catch that lightning in a bottle success again, then obviously it would make sense to do so. And we have had a few hints from Jason and Craig on a live stream in February that the Ancient Evil map is the last Chaos map of the season, emphasizing heavily on the fact that it is the end of this season.
This map represents the last map of the Chaos story for this season. This is the last one of the Chaos story for this season. For this season.
As if to insinuate we might see a second season down the line. So let's jump into this potential Zombies Chronicles 2 news. And before we go ahead, none of this leaked information is from myself. It's all from a group on Twitter that you can find their link for this specific info in the description. And you can also go ahead and look at their back history at the other things that they have leaked in the past. At the end of the day, I'm just an excited Call of Duty Zombies fan like you are, wanting the game to do well, and regardless if this information is real or not, it is still incredibly fun to discuss the what ifs, and the fact that this is just so exciting sounding, it'd be impossible to ignore this rumor and not bring it to you. So as you're hearing it, I'd love to know in the comment section what you're thinking on this, if you'd want this to happen. And if this all happens to be 100% fake, I hope Treyarch and Activision see your comments and see the passion towards something like this. But the rumour is that zombies will continue on Black Ops 4 in the years 2019 into 2020 outside of the first Black Ops pass. This will more than likely be a second Black Ops pass specifically for zombies content that you'd purchase, and this will apparently contain a mix of Ether and Chaos maps. Obviously know that DLC 3 and 4 are going to be strictly Ether maps, so it's pretty exciting that we may potentially have a continuation on that Chaos story as well as new Ether maps. Now jumping in to what maps are currently planned is Nuketown, Call of the Dead, Tranzit / Green Run, Die Rise, and Buried. So literally every map that has yet to be remastered in the original Zombies Chronicles is apparently going to be remastered inside of Black Ops 4 at some point soon. These maps are planned to apparently have their own Gauntlet, Grief mode, and potentially Turned mode too. The second season of Black Ops 4 Zombies will have 2 more Chaos maps with some of the aforementioned Ether maps. And on top of that, 5 and Mob of the Dead may be faithfully remastered too, instead of reimagined as they currently are on Black Ops 4. This is apparently subject to development changes. Call of the Dead is planned to be a faithful remaster, whereas Tranzit is planned to be a bit more unique. And when you first hear that, you just gotta step back for a second, because it is quite unbelievable. The only map from BO1 that was not remastered, as well as the entirety of BO2, all in Black Ops 4 remastered, sounds like a dream. But as we mentioned at the start of the video, from a business side of things, it makes total sense for Activision and Treyarch to release a second Zombies Chronicles because it done so well. It's pretty obvious that all of us zombie fans would easily throw down the money to have all of these maps remastered in Black Ops 4, so it's a no-brainer for them to do it. Now looking at the list that I just mentioned, the most obvious one which I can definitely see happening is Nuketown. We've just had so many rumors and leaks over the past 6 months about this particular map returning, and if an ex-QA tester who leaked the most precise Easter egg steps for the most obscure Easter eggs, which were 100% true, and he claims that Nuketown's coming, then it's quite obvious that it is coming at some point. Some people believe that it would be DLC 2, which it didn't turn out to be, so some people are assuming that it might be our DLC 3 map. We've had absolutely no news yet on what that is, but since we know the next map's an Ether map, and Nuketown is the only thing that's been spoken about regarding Aether content, it would not surprise me if we do get Nuketown next. But me personally, I just want a new Aether map. I don't want remakes. I would love to just have an actual new Aether map. Bundling Nuketown, Call of the Dead, Tranzit, Diarize, and Buried into a remastered pack like Zombie Chronicles sounds like a perfect dream DLC, which I think all of us would buy. And looking at the specific wording about Call of the Dead and Tranzit, we can start to imagine some changes that they could make. They say Call of the Dead is planned to be a faithful remaster, which means it would be pretty much identical to the Black Ops 1 version. Of course, George Romero, unfortunately, is not with us anymore, so I don't know how exactly they'd work with that, but judging if it's a remake, then they obviously have a bit of leeway to change up how some of the mechanics of the map work. If you look at the radios for Revelations, we do actually have some continuations on the Call of the Dead storyline, so it wouldn't actually be that far-fetched if we did get to see that occur in a remaster map, where with the actual scenario happening whilst we're playing the map, or since we are changing the events of history with Blood of the Dead and Classified, things could play out a little bit differently and we could see that in the map. But that's just me being hypothetical and just theory building here. Now, being honest, the idea of a Tranzit remake sounds incredibly exciting to me because the hardware of the last generation is what let Tranzit down, in my opinion. It seemed like such an ambitious project that it just didn't quite turn out how I think it was envisioned. But given we have new hardware, new engine, brand new game, there is so much they could potentially do with it, and it could look visually stunning. And with all the weird speculation and rumours over the years about a Transit bus route B, and on top of a bunch of other things, given the chance, I think a remake of Transit, which is a bit unique, could really change how the perception of that map is as a whole. Like, there is just so much more you can do in Zombies now than you could in Black Ops 2. There could be so many more zombies on screen, areas could be much bigger, far more detailed. It's just quite an exciting thought, you know? As for Diarize, if that does happen to be remastered, I know that Johnny J25 would be especially happy about that news because he's been petitioning it for a good month and a bit now. But I don't think I'd be too excited over a Diarize remake, but Buried, that's where we are getting into the good stuff. And honestly, it seems a little bit perplexing that Blackout has an entire section of Buried remastered and they're playable. So if they were to do it, they've already partially completed the remake of the map. It doesn't seem completely far-fetched that this might happen. Same thing goes for a Mob of the Dead remaster, a faithful one rather than the remake we got of Blood of the Dead. I think a lot of you guys watching will agree with me here that whilst Blood of the Dead is still a very fun, cool map, it just doesn't have the same sort of specialness that Mob of the Dead had, and between Mob of the Dead and Blood of the Dead, I would play Mob of the Dead over Blood any day, just because it just feels weird. Being able to play the original Mob of the Dead on Black Ops 4 with that original cast of characters and just have all the mechanics and just everything, it would make it the ultimate game. It would be so, so good. And with the recent addition of Alcatraz in Blackout, literally the entirety of Alcatraz, including the prison cells, as well as the surrounding island areas and buildings, if they wanted to open the map up more to have you explore that as a zombies map, they've pretty much already done it again because it's playable in Blackout. And I personally would love to see it. So potentially from this leak, we can gather that a Zombie Chronicles 2 is in the works. If that is true or not, we're yet to know. And a second season of Zombies content. A second Black Ops pass containing 4 more Zombies maps, which apparently 2 of them will be brand new Chaos maps extending on the story on the cliffhanger that we got given, and 2 Aether maps from the mentioned Aether maps list that I've mentioned in this video. Now again, gotta take this all with a grain of salt. This is something which sounds far too good to be true, but I definitely think it's in Treyarch's and Activision's interest for Black Ops 4 Zombies as a whole to include this remastered content in the game, because clearly it's what fans want. It's going to drive a heck of a lot of engagement and money on sales on DLC, and if the rumors are true that this this year's COD, being Modern Warfare 4, might not have a zombies mode, it'd be fantastic for the support on Black Ops 4 to continue with zombies content added to Black Ops 4 rather than with MW4. That way you've got like a player base that are playing simply multiplayer and whatever else they end up doing on that game, and then you've got Black Ops 4 for Battle Royale and for zombies. Now, if this is true, realistically, when could we expect to hear news about this? And honestly, if it is true, we won't hear anything about it until probably the end of this year, seeing as we still have DLC 3 and DLC 4 to get through, as well as probably a bunch of other zombie updates, including more game modes, hopefully returning modes like Turn and Grief. This is something we probably won't hear anything about until COD 2019 has released. So if this does turn out to be true, we got a heck of a long time to wait before this gets either confirmed or just straight debunked as being as a false rumor. But with all of that being said, comment section, what are you thinking on this news? A faithful remaster of Call of the Dead, a Tranzit remake that is apparently unique, another mention of a Nuketown remaster for the billionth time it feels this year, along with Die Rise buried, on top of potentially a faithful remaster of Mob of the Dead and 5 to be identical to their original counterparts with the same crew, the same areas, same Easter eggs, same everything. It really does sound too good to be true. And when something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So for the moment, I'm just going to, have this in the back of my mind is like, okay, this has been mentioned, but I'm not really going to dwell too much on it because we're so far away from actually finding out if this is real or not, as well as it sounding unbelievably exciting. That would literally have a resurgence in zombies like Zombies Chronicles 1 did. From a business perspective, at some point it's eventually going to happen. If it's going to have exactly what we've spoken about in this video, is an entirely different can of worms in its own right. But if you would like to see something like this happen, click that like button. That way it shows Treyarch and Activision that even if this isn't real, you'd want to see something like this. But thank you so much for watching. You guys have been awesome, and I'll catch you in another video soon.